Test 1, 2, 3, 4, live stream test.
All right, well, thank you very much. We're reconvening back from our closed session, and we will go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence with our Student Representative Board of Trustee, Abdullah Fatai.
All right, please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. As I'm sure most of you know, this Tuesday marked the first day of the Lunar New Year. And whether you celebrate it or not, I think it serves as a great reminder for all the blessings that we have. I'm so grateful when thinking about the family, friends, and communities that I share this holiday with. And although in the past I never really celebrated it, I can look forward to indulging in some of the culture with my closest friends. Being a part of such an expansive and diverse community, it welcomes new and diverse ideas. I now want to take some time to briefly appreciate all that we have and be grateful for the places we've been able to make it to. During this month of February, I couldn't do a moment of silence without speaking about our country's history. During Black History Month, I urge everyone just to listen. Just listen to the communities that have been pushed aside in our country for so long. As a community, we have come a long way in terms of equity to the citizens of this country. However, there is still more to be done, and we can't forget. Please join me in a moment of silence together as we listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdullah, for that very, very good moment of silence comment that you made. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's go next to 6.3, which is closed session report. And I know we don't have our clerk of the board, so I'll ask our assistant.
And Abdullah, I would like to second what President Jabbar said. You did a lovely job.
Thank you.
5.1, no reportable action taken regarding public employee performance evaluation superintendent. 5.2, the Board of Trustees unanimously approved the settlement agreement in OAH case number 2021-110366, resolving all issues in students' due process complaint by providing compensatory services and reimbursement. 5.3, the Board of Trustees unanimously approved the settlement agreement in OAH case number 2021-100381, resolving all issues in students' due process complaint by providing compensatory services and other reimbursement. 5.4, no reportable action taken regarding negotiations. 5.5, no reportable action taken regarding personnel. 5.6, the Board of Trustees unanimously voted to suspend without pay for 10 days employee HR-2021-22-09. 5.7, this item was pulled prior to the adoption of the agenda. And 5.8, the Board of Trustees took formal action with a 5.0 vote to approve the expulsions of students 21-11, 21-12, 21-13.
All right, thank you very much. And we're going into recognition, but I don't see, except for Natalie Saldivar with the APGA co-presidents here, and I don't see, I think I saw Grant Schuster out there. They're all probably out there. And then I think Amanda Bean was here too, right? Sure. Okay, perfect. Besides that, we're doing a recognition today for the following business, which is Advanced Healthcare Pharmacy. Are they here in the audience? No. Not on. Do we have anybody on the other room? Oh, they were not. Okay. All right. Well, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Advanced Healthcare Pharmacy. I know that they've made a donation of $5,000 to the Vietnamese program, and we wanted to recognize them, but definitely give them our thanks, and I want to recognize them in person as well. All right. Perfect. We're going to our next item, which is resolutions. We have a whole lot of resolutions at this meeting today, and I'm going to start out with 8.1, which is a resolution number 2021-2022-BOT01, confirming compliance of trustee area boundaries in accordance with the 2020 federal census. I know it's a...
Move for approval?
We'll move for an approval. And I have a second. And this is going to be discussion time and questions. I will start from my left. Anne-Marie.
Well, looking over the maps, my original question, I remember, that was a couple months ago. My very first question was that, do we have to do anything? Are we in compliance? And I remember asking that very well. And we were, and we are in compliance with the maps. And when we try to move some of the folks and try to, I don't know what we want to call it, equalize the numbers, it would have, to me, it looks like we would have taken a school out of an area and put it into another area. And I just, I don't want to do that. And so, to me, my opinion is, at this point in time, I think to leave the map as it is. And we can look into the future maybe of looking into it if the growth gets really, what's the word I'm looking for? If there's, growth that's really too much. I think that we tried to create a word is blanking out of my head. We tried to create another area and we couldn't do that. So I'm just saying that I just felt like from the very, very beginning, if we didn't really need to change anything, we shouldn't. I like the original map, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Okay, I hear what Trustee Randall Trejo is saying, but I disagree. First of all, we are all responsible for every school in this district. Yes, we are elected by districts, but this is the problem with districts. Then we feel like we have to have certain schools that are ours. Well, they fall into our area, but that doesn't mean you cannot still be, attendant to each school, especially like, okay, the issue here is South is no longer in that one area and it's going to be in the other area, but it's right on the line. I have a district where it's divided right in front of Dale Junior High, but that doesn't mean I don't think it's my school. I don't think it makes a difference. What we should be considering more importantly, I believe, is the evening out of the populations. And if we stay with our trustee areas that we have now, we have one area which is a -4 as far as percentage of population, and only one other one that is a -0.3. And the others are above. And so, and between the two that we have been looking at between area 1 and 2, you have a -4 and a +4. No, it's, okay, it's within the realm because they say it's within 10%. But it doesn't even out the voting population, okay? As well as scenario 2 evens it out more so that you have 2 areas that are more evenly divided as far as numbers when it comes to voting for who's going to represent that area. And that's what this whole thing of districts is about. And I mean, I didn't like the idea of districts. I still don't like the idea of districts because I think it creates this division that you're hearing right now. And I will be, I tell people all the time, well, well, you're in our area, you have to represent us. I represent the whole school district. I am concerned about the whole school district, every single school. Yes, this school is in my area, so yes, you expect, I to be a little bit more involved. But I'm involved with, schools that are not in my area at all because they are not far away. So I personally think scenario 2, that evens out the citizen voting numbers more to 54.5% to 50%, evens out the voting area so that when it comes to election times, they have a better opportunity to get a minority elected. So that's where I stand.
And it was all said for me. I agree with everything that Mrs. Piercy said.
So here's where, I'm somebody who actually looked at trying to see how to balance out that number. That's number one. I looked at both scenarios that our demographers put in place. For me, I wanted to create another CVAP district with District 2. But I also wanted to balance it out. I completely get your point, Trustee Piercy, in terms of making sure that all of us represent all school districts. And I think that nobody here on this dais is going to argue with that. I mean, I represent Trustee Area 1, but I've attended events at Cypress, I've attended events at Kennedy, I've attended at Western because that's our responsibility. But I'm also looking at communities of interest where folks who go to Anaheim High School, you have a large number of students who come from Sycamore Junior High. And the reason that I'm actually pulling back, and I think I tried to make this point an argument at the last board meeting, trying to figure out how we can keep Sycamore Junior High within Trustee Area 1 and then do the necessary changes in order to create that second CVAP district so that we could make it another special district for a Latino district. But with my first primary interest was to make sure that we keep the Sycamore parents, who majority of them go to Anaheim High School, having to have a trustee responsible for that particular area. And I think they know that they're going to Anaheim High School. They know that they're going to advocate on behalf of Anaheim High School. I'm talking about the parents. So when they actually go and talk to their trustee who is representing that area, I'm not saying that no other trustee is not responsible, but the idea of district representation was for a trustee to be responsible for their particular neighborhood. And as a result, I'm going to agree with Trustee Randall Trejo, and I don't know how we're going to, do we have to propose the map and then get into a vote call, or are we going to basically, I know the resolution is here, and I know we have a motion. I think the motion was to discuss the issue, right?
That's right. So
then we propose a map to basically approve.
correct. So you will vote on selecting a map to go along with the resolution. So you would need to make that motion with respect to the map. If there is a 2-2 vote, the motion would fail for lack of majority. We could schedule then a special meeting when Trustee O'Neill is available.
Okay. All right. Well, having said that, as chair, I will propose scenario number 1, and to maintain our trustee areas as is. And I will tell you the reason that I'm actually going with that is that I'm looking at trustee area 2 with the CVAP at 49%. Inevitably, there is going to be a majority in that particular district, and it will become the second CVAP district in the future regardless. So as a result,
That's
I'm gonna-
scenario 2A, not 2.
no, scenario 1.
Oh, scenario 1.
Scenario
Okay.
1, yeah.
Okay.
Maintain.
You said 2, and I was going to say no. Okay.
No, I said area 2 will inevitably be a CVAP majority in the future.
Can I make a comment, though? I want to make a correction for you, which I disagree with.
Sure, but
We
I
did
have a
not-
motion on the floor, though.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna second that
Okay,
motion.
Okay.
so now go ahead.
You made the comment that we went into districts so that we could have people representing districts. No, we divided into districts for voting areas that would give minorities the ability to elect someone from their community.
That is one aspect of it.
That was the total aspect.
That's your opinion.
That was the total aspect. That's why we went with it. This is what every area has been sued or brought to task because California voting rights, that's what it is. It's not to represent certain areas, to have people, it was to give opportunities to minority groups to elect people to represent them.
Sure.
So I just disagree with the way you stated it, because I do not agree with that at all.
Okay, so my point is, at the end of the day, we'll have Anaheim High School and Sycamore Junior High, where Sycamore Junior High students actually go into Anaheim High School, will have a representative who will actually advocate on behalf of those families from that area. And again, as a trustee for that area, I've advocated on behalf of all of the schools and all other parents who reached out to me. But I think in terms of a map, to give significance, I am going to go ahead and ask our rest of the colleagues to vote with me on approving scenario 1 as our trustee area maps. So if there's no...
I just want to say, Anna, I've been on this board for a long time, and the schools that I've been out there in the district. I kind of resent that remark that you're saying, that you brought up the fact that we all represent the district. We all do. And I don't think that I was trying to say that, just because Al's in one, he doesn't represent another district,
No, I didn't hear that from you.
Yeah, so I kind of resent that.
But I
what
did
you
not say you said that.
Because we all do. We all represent 99.9% of everything that we do is for the entire district. So my point was, I felt that, having someone in that district and having that line right through it and not having Sycamore and Anaheim together was the reason I didn't want to divvy that up. And that's my point.
I understand that.
We all represent every single school in this
Right, we all
this
look at things
district.
differently.
And, so I just had to say that. But I just felt that, we tried to create, and that was the word I wasn't thinking of, the CVAP. And eventually it will become a second, probably, majority in that group. We tried, and, I just felt like if we're going to try to, gerrymander, the lines, we don't want to do that. We don't want to create that. So that's just the reason I wanted to stay with the original map. And I agree with my colleague that, students are going to Sycamore, a majority of them go to Anaheim, and, to stay with a representative that they can go to. A lot of people call Al, a lot of people call me. So, they need somebody to reach out. That's part of the reason why districts are working here. It isn't all of it, but it is partly the reason we get called out for we live in the area. We're the neighborhood trustee for that area. So I just don't want to divide a line between Sycamore and Anaheim. It doesn't make any sense for me to do that.
Kathy, do you have Any further? If not, I will call for a vote. All in favor of proposing trustee,
Roll call vote.
oh, yeah, that's right. Scenario 1. So we have a motion on the table for approving scenario 1 as to maintain the current Anaheim AUHSD trustee areas. And I'll call for the roll call vote, and that will be trustee Randall Trejo,
Aye.
trustee Piercy,
No.
trustee Smith,
No.
trustee Aljabar is voting yes. So we have a 2-2 motion, and the motion will fail. And I think our next step is basically to say that the motion has failed, so we will move this item for a future meeting, special meeting.
That's correct, unless there's another motion.
Okay. Well, do I have another motion for another map?
I would move for scenario 2.
Do I have a second? Seeing,
I'll go along with that. I just hate this dividing us. I just think we're all members of this community, and this just really is heart-wrenching for me.
okay. Is that a second?
Yeah.
Okay, there is a motion and a second for
Okay.
Scenario-
Can I say something additional?
scenario
Okay.
2, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
scenario 2, yeah. You know, we all look at things differently, okay? And Kathy, you don't have to be upset because we just look at things differently and we evaluate on different bases, okay? I'm evaluating on numbers alone because in my area, I have 4 schools that I deal with closely that are not in my area, if you want to call it, because the line goes right along them. You got Orangeview, Western, and Dale. They're all on the other side of my area, but I deal with them and I look at them as mine because a lot of their attendance area is in mine. So I don't see the need for worrying about that line. That's where I'm coming from. And I'm looking more on evening out the areas because to me, that was the whole reason for these districts was the voting and the advantage for the minority groups. So that's what I'm looking at and that's why I'm in favor of 2. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, that's all, and I know, here we go, it's not going to get any different, but, but we're not arguing, we're not being, acrimonious, we just look at things differently, and we value different things, and that's it, okay? It's how we look at things, so.
All right, so we have a,
Becker.
Huh?
We're not arguing, we're just having a difference of opinion.
right, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. If there's no other comments, I'll call for a roll call vote. Trustee Randall Trejo,
No.
trustee Piercy,
Yes.
trustee Smith,
Yes.
trustee Aljabar votes no, so motion fails. And as a result, we'll probably either call for a special meeting. I think we're okay, still okay with the deadline. Yeah, so we could actually call for a special meeting before the March meeting, obviously, because I think there's, our deadline is? It's the end of February. End of February. Okay, we could go ahead and call for another meeting. Perfect. All right, we're going to move forward with reports. And we have our student representative report, Abdullah Fatai.
All right, thank you. So as I'm sure you guys remember, I mentioned it last board meeting, but this month we had our serve-a-thon across all school sites. It's a yearly thing that we do. A few projects that we had at Anaheim, the Bros partnered with Sycamore to create some toiletry kits for the homeless, along with other projects. Loera had a week-long serve-a-thon. Because of COVID, they wanted to spread it out so there wasn't too many people at one time. So they did recycling, decorating bags for the homeless, and holding a clothes drive donation along with other stuff. Western worked on their community garden, and Oxford did an e-waste drive across the district. Like I mentioned earlier, this month is Black History Month, and our district is doing a lot of student-led stuff, in fact. So this coming Saturday, we have an OC Black History Parade and Unity Festival right here in downtown Anaheim. There's also an AUHSD Black History Month celebration on February 11th in KPAC. We have the annual LA Black College Expo on February 19th, and there's a virtual Thrively Space discussion. Anaheim specifically, there's a new course that's been approved called the Photos/Ethnic Studies, and this class will focus on local and indigenous communities of color. Anaheim is leading the way in the new graduation requirement for the Ethnic Studies course that will come in future years. At Gilbert, they had a food drive hosted by the Friday Night Lives Club. Loera had an international week from January 23rd to January 28th, and on the 27th, they had this massive district-wide international show with students across the district. I got to see it. It was really cool. There was the Anaheim dance team and then students from all across the district singing and dancing. Western is preparing for their international week as well, with a lot of different clubs such as VSA, Korean Club, Hispanic Club, and more. And their varsity basketball actually has gone undefeated and is already secured a spot for the Orange League champions, and so has their water polo team. So really great there. And Western just held their first RSVP summit on January 11th and 12th, along with CVA, Cambridge Virtual Academy, who's having their summit right now. So if you want to sign in, you can go in there after this. And Catella is doing they're participating in the National Signing Day, which was on February 2nd, so just yesterday, and 3 seniors at Catella officially committed. Just a quick shout out, there's Ashlyn Viramontes going to Cal State Fullerton for cross country and track, Miles Johnson for Cal State Dominguez Hills for baseball, and Cody Lozano for Viterbo University in Wisconsin for baseball. And Kennedy's cheer song team placed first in their division. Along with RSVP summits, Catella and Savannah are now holding their summits in the upcoming weeks. So once they're done, we're going to have all schools finishing their summits. The district junior high and high school band concert is going to be at Pearson Park at 7 p.m. tomorrow. I'll be there if you guys want to come by. And then the Youth in Government Day is on February 23rd. It's held by our district, and students are able to go there and kind of participate in government, in local government. Many school sites are currently doing their ASB elections for president and secondary elections, and our ambassador applications actually close on February 11th. So any juniors watching this right now, you can still apply. We have an informational meeting right now as well, so maybe check in there as well. And then student ambassadors are now looking for student representatives for the LCAP. I think the first meeting is going to be February 17th here at the Anaheim Union District office. But right now, our biggest issue is trying to find transportation for the students, because a lot of them said that they want to come, but they can't because of transportation. So we're trying to see if there's a way that we can kind of bus them here. So if there's any opportunity that we can do that, I'm trying to figure that out to see if we can get them transportation, because a lot of students want to participate, but they just can't because they don't have the rides to get here. And yeah, I think that's it for my student report.
All right, thank you, Abdullah. I love the way that you actually looked at the camera and told them to do the work. So thank you. All right, thank you very much. Next, we're going right into student speakers. This is our new agenda item, which recognizes students to speak when they're here. But I've received a lot of blue slips, but none of them identify themselves as students. So I will go ahead and proceed to our reports of association. And go ahead, Grant. I see that you're walking in, so I'm assuming you're going to be speaking. Go ahead.
We're all lined up in the hall.
All right.
Good evening, President Jabbar and trustees. Glad to be back again this evening. And actually, I'm going to turn over my time tonight to a few classroom teachers who want to give a short report about the LCAP from last year and its impact on this year and what we hope to continue to do. So first is Jeff Morgenstern from Brookhurst.
All right, good evening. I've been a history teacher at Brookhurst Junior High for the past 24 years, and I have 2 other Brookhurst teachers here tonight to represent our members. These teachers spend their entire day working tirelessly with our students day after day. If you think about time and proximity to students, there are no others in the education world closer to our students than our almost 1,300 teachers. Tonight, I'd like to take a few minutes to praise our district's LCAP stakeholder process. The process really is a great opportunity to showcase what we are doing in the classroom and to come together as partners to focus our resources on our greatest needs. One of last year's top LCAP goals, class size reduction, was voted on by parents and teachers, site admin, district staff, and leadership. It brought about the hiring of over 120 additional teachers to provide better support for our students in the classroom. As a junior high history teacher, I see every day how smaller class sizes allows teachers to give a better, more personalized approach to support. I have more time to provide feedback to students on their writing, guide the work on their projects. I'm able to spend time in class providing the necessary scaffolding for my students who have a wide range of academic, language, and social emotional needs. I have more energy to plan some great lessons, focusing on the 5 C's, as well as developing my abilities to navigate e-cadence. In short, I feel that I'm doing a great job this year, and I know that I'm not the only one. There's a common misconception out there, and it goes like this. It will take us a year or two to get through the effects of the pandemic, and then we'll be back to normal. This idea is all about making it through, and we'll just slip back to the way things used to be. To tell you the truth, I don't think we'll ever make it back to the old normal. The new normal is here. And in fact, we're creating it right now at this board meeting, and every day students are in the classroom. I firmly believe, given the uncertainty of this new normal, the best thing we can do to help our students succeed is to have them spend 6 hours a day in smaller classrooms with their teachers who are best suited to help them succeed. I'll even go a step further and say that we should expand class size reduction to all of our classrooms. We have some of the best elective programs in the county. How many more amazing things could our students achieve if given the chance of having lower class sizes? At my junior high, our PE department are suffering with class sizes well over 50. How can we make connections with our students and put into practice all the programs we promote, like capturing kids' hearts, if we just pile on the students in classes that have become the center of trouble on our campuses? The media is talking a lot about learning loss during the pandemic. It's true, but that loss is really nothing compared to the learning loss of large class sizes. So I ask our trustees and our district leadership to continue to make class size reduction a priority. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Rex Wheeler.
Hello. My name is Rex Wheeler, and I'm the RSP Department Chair at Brookhurst Junior High. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak and express my gratitude for being employed by such a great school district. I still remember when I got the phone call that I had an interview with this district, and I was very excited. I was on the freeway, and I just couldn't help my excitement. So I'm very grateful to be here. As the RSP Department Chair, the biggest need we have is personnel. It is my hope that with the new funds the district has, that some of those funds will be used to hire more RSP instructional aids. Laptops, tablets, and educational apps are great, and they serve us well. But the one thing that has the greatest impact on student progress are the adults in the classroom. I have worked with other special education departments in my capacity as department chair, and I know there's a similar need in programs such as SDC, severely handicapped, deaf and hard of hearing, and autism focus. In my 13 years of teaching, I have seen how important it is to have good instructional aids and the enormous impact they can have on student progress. This year I put instructional aids in the 7th grade elective wheel, and the elective teachers have all told me how helpful it is to have the instructional aids in class to keep our students engaged, not just the special ed students, but all of the students. We've had a lower teacher-to-student ratio this year, and has resulted in an improvement in our ability to connect with students. Having more instructional aids in RSP will benefit some of our more vulnerable students, and they often only receive academic support in the classroom. Unfortunately, a lot of these students have nobody at home to help them. It's only the adults in the classroom that can help them. Our year of virtual learning was an eye-opening experience. For many years, I was concerned that teachers might one day be replaced by technology, but it became very clear to me that many students lack the motivation, maturity, and home support to successfully navigate the learning environment. It was only with the persistent efforts of our professional staff that kept students engaged. The same is true for in-person learning. Instructional aids are a cost-effective way to connect with our students and help them on their path to success. Please consider providing funding for instructional aids with the LCAP funding. Thank you very much for your commitment to our students and your time. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tisha Ludeman, and I have been a teacher at Brookhurst for 22 years. Tonight, I have the privilege of speaking with you about how technology has improved my students' learning and my teaching practice, and how important it is to keep technology and technology training front and center in the LCAP process. I teach 2 elective classes at Brookhurst, Home Economics and AVID. These classes have not typically been associated with tons of technology use. When people think of home ec, they think cooking and sewing and those strange electronic babies and lots of hands-on projects. And when AVID comes to mind, images are of paper Cornell notes and tutorial meetings where students and tutors dissect and solve problems on large whiteboards where everyone has a dry erase pen in their hand. I'm not gonna lie, that's how I saw my elective classes too, until that faithful Friday the 13th of March 2020. But I learned to adapt and to embrace technology, as we all have. Perhaps one of the very few positives that has come from a global pandemic is that we all learned to be more adaptable, but we also learned to rely more on technology and use computers more effectively. This reliance on learning technology has improved education for my students, and I see that evidence every day. First, in my classes, the grades are the best they have ever been, really. Like averages in the high 80s. Mainly this is due to students making up missing assignments because eCadence reminds them of their missing work every time they enter my electronic class. I could never replicate that for each student as they physically enter my classroom, nor would I want to. I love that eCadence does the nagging for me. Second, teacher-student communications have definitely improved. I'm able to set up convenient student reminders and announcements, but more importantly, I can comment and actually converse on scores and assignments in the eCadence gradebook. Yes, a score might be for a cooking lab that was completed in a kitchen and not on a computer, but my ability to give feedback to an entire cooking group about their lab performance is greatly improved when I can talk to them both in person and online. Third, important papers don't get lost. Well, actually, they still do. But when I provide an electronic copy of that paper on eCadence, then students can still access the important information they need to complete their work. These are simple ways technology has changed my classroom, but as a recent report from the Brookings Institute points out, there are additional benefits to technology, which I know you know, but let me mention them again. The ability to provide high-quality pre-recorded lessons, the ability to differentiate instruction to meet the needs of all students, to provide the opportunity for repeated practice outside the classroom, and to increase engagement through high-interest games and activities. Education technology alone is not a magic bullet, but it can complement teaching and learning when it is used wisely and strategically. That is why I implore you to consider providing a class set of Chromebooks for every classroom in our district, even the classrooms like mine that are not normally computer technology driven. And every bit as important is supporting that equipment with the proper amount of time and training to implement that technology effectively. By the way, nearly every day last summer, I trained teachers on how to use eCadence and loved that work. eCadence is a constantly evolving program, and I think staff could really benefit from more training again this summer, especially now when a lot more of us can open up our e-classes and see how, and show others how we use the platform. And I just wanted to end tonight by thanking you for your time and thanking you for what you do for students. And I'm just really proud to be on the same team. And one of the things that the pandemic has also done is just make me more appreciative, and I just want to share that appreciation with all of you. And that concludes our report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next, I think I have Amanda Bean. Go ahead.
Good evening, Board President Jabbar, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Matsuda, Cabinet, community members joining us in person and online. There are many, many things going on right now for our administrators and their teams. First, on behalf of all the administrators, we want to give a shout out to our school counselors and wish them a happy National School Counselor Week next week. We appreciate all of you, your work, and the work that you do to love and support our students. Thank you. Also, sites have recently selected their Teachers of the Year. We also want to acknowledge our wonderful teachers and the impact that they make daily in the lives of students, and we thank them for their work as well. Many sites are hosting virtual transition events for their incoming students from the elementary schools into the junior highs and the junior highs into the high schools. Everyone is excited to show off their campus and welcome families to their schools. Principals have been working to align their site vision with the Anaheim Union Educational Pledge and the Career Preparedness Systems Framework. And one of those is the development of the site level capstone projects. We are working to develop a district-wide capstone the fall of next year that every student will participate in. Sites are also continuing to distribute COVID test kits and have expanded that distribution to their staff. We're preparing for the LCAP process and busy inviting members from our communities to participate. And lastly, Dr. Nian and Mr. Matsuda have began doing site presentations to help update the sites about the district and things to come in terms of our budget and what to expect, so everybody can stay informed. And as always, just on behalf of all of our administrators, I'd like to express that we are grateful for the opportunity to serve our students, families, and staff, and we look forward to a very productive spring. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. And do I have Natalie Saldivar, who's going to, yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Matsuda, District Cabinet, AUHSD students and families, guests, and those joining us online. My name is Natalie Saldivar, and I'm the APGA co-president. You will also begin to see Corey Kretz, who is now our APGA co-president as well. I wanted to take the time to thank the Board of Trustees, AUHSD Cabinet, and everyone involved in declaring the week of February 7th through February 11th as a National School Counseling Week throughout AUHSD. Our sincere thank you for recognizing school counselors district-wide, and especially for introducing the AUHSD School Counselor of the Year. Thank you. Tonight, I am honored to introduce two wonderful teams that will take this time to report on their school counseling programs. We will begin this evening with Magnolia High School's Counseling Department, and following them will be Dale Junior High School's Counseling Department. Thank you.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, community members, and the audience joining us here and online. My name is Tomoko Taguchi, and I'm a counselor at Magnolia High School. I'm joined by the rest of my counseling team, Rosie Cardoza, Blair Nelson, and Lulu Suarez. It's a pleasure to be here with you to share the inspiring story of a current 11th grader, Aaron Castillo Miranda, who himself and his guardians were happy to let me share. Aaron began his journey in Mexico and came to the U.S. and enrolled at Dale Junior High School in 8th grade. He began learning English through his ELD 1 class, and when he came to Magnolia, his ELD teacher and science teacher helped him see his own potential and think seriously about his future. Since then, Aaron has thrived not only in his schoolwork, but also in his college readiness and leadership skills. By 9th grade, he had moved up to an ELD 3 class, and with the invitation of his counselor, attended peer tutoring for plurilingual students during Saturday Academy, and even helped other students with their homework during this time. In 10th grade, in 10th grade, he moved up from ELD to 10th grade English, and his counselor encouraged him to apply for the Simon Scholars Program, which provides access to four-year colleges through a $16,000 scholarship. During the interview round of the Simon Scholars application process, Aaron proudly shared that he would be the first male in his family to attend college. In addition, he will be the first person, male or female in his family, to graduate from college and receive a degree. Aaron was one of 9 Magnolia students accepted into the Simon Scholars Program out of 90 eligible students, and he plans to attend a 4-year college upon graduating from Magnolia. And after discussing his 11th grade course selection with his teacher and counselor, he's currently enrolled in rigorous classes such as AP Biology and AP Spanish Language and Culture. The counselor also introduced Aaron to Magnolia's College and Career Readiness Specialist, Rudolfo Carrera Garcia, so that Aaron feels comfortable seeking support for upcoming college and financial aid applications in 12th grade. Aaron is a student who reaches out to the counselor for help when he needs it, takes advantage of resources available on campus, and inspires new plurilingual students he meets by sharing that they can have bright futures by taking school seriously. We are incredibly proud of Aaron's journey of starting in ELD 1 in 8th grade at Dale to now being a thriving 4-year college-bound leader at Magnolia. Thank you for letting us share this one inspiring story out of many this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Alrighty, good evening, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, community members, and the audience joining us online. My name is Nasreen Sarvi, and I'm one of the proud counselors at Dale Junior High School. I'm joined by the rest of my counseling team, Ms. Alexandra George and Ms. Carla Cortez. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak on a student's success story. So transitioning to junior high is a challenging and sometimes stressful milestone in a student's educational career. The last 2 years have been challenging for many of our students, not just academically, but also social-emotionally due to the unprecedented pandemic and virtual learning. With the transition back to in-person instruction, the beginning of the school year brought forth a lot of anxiety for many students. Sorry, I lost my place. Given all the challenges our students face, I would like to highlight an inspirational student this school year. To respect student confidentiality, we will refer to our student as Student C. Student C came to our attention at the beginning of the school year when she was in the health office experiencing severe anxiety. After conducting a safety assessment, which would be the first of several over the course of the first semester, the appropriate outside agencies were contacted to further support the student's mental health and overall well-being. For a period of time, the student was receiving inpatient care to best support their needs. Transitioning back to school was challenging for the student after being out for several weeks. The student even expressed a desire to switch to online learning or an independent studies instead. A 504 plan was developed for the student and was created with the student and family to best support the student within our school setting. Through collaboration with the student, the family, our school staff, and outside mental health agencies, the student began making significant progress emotionally and academically. Student C has come a long way this school year. She is now able to identify triggers to her anxiety and effectively cope with her feelings. She seeks support when needed. She goes to a trusted adult to process her feelings. She initiates social interactions with both peers and adults, and she advocates for herself within and outside the classroom. Mental health and well-being is the foundation for a student's achievement, and the student was able to successfully end the semester with A's, B's, and C's. This student success story is a perfect example of the importance of collaboration, community, and compassion within a school setting. We are excited to see how Student C will continue to grow and thrive academically, as well as social and emotionally. We know that the future has great things in store for them, and we look forward to seeing what we can do to continue support their growth. Thank you for the opportunity to share this story.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those stories and making relevant for us. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. And I don't think I have Jennifer Hippolitano or Hippolito. Nope. Okay. All right. I keep saying that. I need to correct that. All right. Perfect. So we're going to go into our Parent-Teacher-Student Association PTSA report. I don't think we have them either, right? Okay. Now we go into presentations. And the first one is 10.1, which is the 8 through G Completion Improvement Grant Program. I'll go ahead and ask Jaren to come in and introduce the presenters.
So this is a required presentation, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Director of Special Programs, Mr. Joe Carmona, who's going to lead us through this. He'll also lead us through our next presentation, which is required as well. Mr. Carmona.
Good evening, board members, cabinet, superintendent, and those joining us virtually. I have the pleasure of presenting the district's A to G Completion Improvement Plan. So a little bit of background. The California Budget Act of 2021 authorized funds to support A to G completion improvement. These funds are designed to increase or improve services for unduplicated pupils. So again, that is a term that we use in developing our LCAP, and that refers to our low-income English learner and foster youth students, to improve A to G eligibility and ensure access to A to G courses. These funds will be available to the district through the 2025-26 school year, and our estimated allocation is just under $6 million, $5.5 million. The official allocations are set to come out sometime later this month, but that is our estimated amount. The expenditures and activities are broken down into 3 broad categories, and I'll go into those in further slides. And just as a reminder, A to G completion is actually a highlight for our district. Over the last several years, as noted on the slide, we've increased that percentage from 37% to 52% in 5 years. So I just want to acknowledge the tremendous work of our counseling staffs, our administrators, our teachers, in helping make more students eligible to attend college. As part of the development of this plan, we engaged with a number of administrators, our counselors, obviously, and teachers to help identify the activities and strategies that we will be using. Part of what the Budget Act around these funds requires is for us to identify the need, and they target the 2020-21 school year in terms of students who either failed a course or perhaps earned a D in a course. So the information that you see on this slide, these are students who have failed a course. And so when you look across the content areas, you can see these are students who need at least 1 semester. So some of those students need 2 semesters of English or 3 semesters of English. The numbers are calculated using our current 9th through 11th grade students. I excluded the 12th grade students because this year, if they were not on track for graduation, right, the state granted a waiver around the number of credits they would need to be able to graduate, right? So when the credit recovery needs of our seniors were actually automatically reduced by the implementation of that state waiver. So the data that you see, again, is inclusive of our current 9th through 11th grade students. So there is a need, obviously, for some additional funding to continue to support our students in not only working towards graduation, but also A to G completion and being eligible to apply for college. So the first broad area that these funds support is professional development. And so when we engaged with our teachers and our counselors, a few themes emerged. One is additional work regarding grading practices and grading for equity. Many of our teachers have begun reading a variety of books, listening to conferences. I know some of our board has heard speakers in regards to grading practices, and so we want to continue that work in identifying ways that we can have more fair and equitable practices in all of our classrooms. The further development of our college and career access teams. So, as part of the Anaheim Union Educational Pledge, we have teams at all of our high schools who are tasked with helping our sites develop the systems to ensure that students not only have access, but also complete the necessary courses and activities associated with preparing to move on to an either 2- or 4-year institution. As an example, right, completing the FAFSA or DREAM Act. That's a critical component in the senior year for students in order to move on, right? And so the college and career access teams at our sites, under the direction of the Anaheim Collaborative, put activities and different strategies in place to ensure that those things are happening. So we want to continue to support the development of these teams in being more and more effective in the implementation of those activities that are already embedded in our pledge. Further professional development for our staff to better understand A to G. So A to G is a term that is unique to the state of California, right? These are California requirements that are applicable to the Cal State and University of California system. And so we want to make sure our counseling and our teaching staff really understand what are those requirements, what are the set of courses, what is the impact when a student gets a D in one of those courses in terms of them continuing to be able to be eligible to apply to one of those university systems. And then lastly, continued support and development around the use of data and data analysis, right? So if we can identify, right, the content areas where students are failing to become A to G eligible. If we can identify early on the areas where we might need to provide some additional support for students in order to successfully pass those classes with a grade of a C or higher, so they remain on that A to G track. The second area that's laid out is what the state calls advising plans and pupil supports. So the input from our partners really heavily identified additional academic supports before, during, and after school. So the bulk of our students are actually enrolled in courses which allow them to be A to G eligible. It's not that they don't have access to the courses, it's that they need to earn a C or higher. And so that support might look like effective tutoring that happens in an after-school setting. That support might look like support during the class period for a group of students who are having difficulty earning that grade of a C or higher. And so these funds will help us provide some of those additional academic supports. Expanding and strengthening our success monitoring of our plurilingual or English learners. So over the last 2 years, the district has rolled out a plan to monitor our English learners at every site. And so they were always monitored, but this is where a staff member has a small number of students that they interact with on a weekly basis. Right? They're not providing tutoring during that time, but it's more an opportunity to connect, ensure that that student has a relationship with an adult on campus, and if they are having a hard time, connecting them with the resources they need. Maybe that's an academic resource. Maybe it's a mental health support, or maybe it's just a kind word to get them through a hard week. Right? And so that success monitoring has been very essential over the last 2 years, especially when we're in distance learning. And so these funds will be allow us to continue that, and not only to continue it, but to expand it and strengthen those practices. And I want to just, Dr. Bryant and her team has really been instrumental in rolling that out for all of our sites. We want to strengthen our 6-year academic planning. So our counselors, again, that is embedded in the pledge, that our students have a 6-year plan. And so we continue to look at ways to not only have that be a more efficient process, right? Because it takes a lot of time to meet with every student and lay out their plan, but also a responsive process, right? A student enters high school in the 9th grade, they have one plan for the student and their family. And as they go through, that plan might change. And so we want to make sure that we are responding to those needs and continuing to give them the best academic advice in terms of their courses and their future opportunities. We want to create some opportunities to meet with students in a one-on-one setting. We value the development of relationships in our district. And so that time when you can sit down with a family and go into a more in-depth conversation, our counseling staffs are doing that every day, but this will allow us to provide some additional time outside of their normal work hours to continue, again, expanding those opportunities. And then lastly, implementing district-wide college and career advising materials. And this is related to the previous slide about our college and career access teams. So we have some very experienced staff across all of our sites, right? And one of the challenges is that at one school, they might have shared the information in one way, and then at another school, they shared it in a different way. So we want to make sure that all of our students are getting a consistent, high-quality message around this, and so we want to take some of those great materials and practices that they have and make sure that those get standardized for all of our sites, right? So every student has access to the same high-level quality information. And then the last area is expanding access to coursework, and I touched briefly upon this. The vast majority of our high school courses are approved by the University of California to earn A to G credit. So the area where we want to expand that access really is in relation to our students with disabilities. Sometimes those students in their course planning, in their IEP planning, they are enrolled in courses that are not A to G. And so that's the area where we want to expand the access for that particular group of students. For our other students, we're really talking about ensuring that they have an opportunity to earn a C or higher in every class. So if they don't earn a C, opportunities during the summer for that grade recovery and credit recovery, but also acceleration. So, some of our students, they enroll in one of our exclusive pathways, and so to meet all of the requirements becomes quite a taxing exercise on their schedule. So we want to provide opportunities in the summer where they could take a course as acceleration, so then they don't have to take that during the school year, right? So that allows them to continue to access their pathway or their VAPA course or something along those lines. And then lastly, the continued development of additional A to G courses to meet student interest and purpose, right? So this is really where when you think about the Career Preparedness Systems Framework and student voice and purpose. So we've actually added a number of courses over the last few years that address this. And each year we're looking, and our teachers are coming up with innovative course proposals. And so we want to continue to be able to offer those courses to meet the changing needs and interests of our students, right? So, esports wasn't really on the radar for any of us until just a few years ago. Cybersecurity, right? That's really a pathway that's emerged at our sites in just the last few years. And so that took us adding those courses, right, into our course catalog to meet the needs and the interest. And so with that concludes my presentation about the ADG Completion Improvement Plan, and I would like to open up the opportunity for questions at this time.
Thank you for the presentation. I'll go ahead and open up for questions, starting with my left, Anne-Marie.
Yes, thank you for the report. I love these ideas. So it looks like on that first slide where you said the demonstrated need, and you list all of the students that you said had failed. and then they needed to make up a semester or two. Are those all, are they the same group of students, would you say?
Sure. So if you were to add up across the various categories, I didn't do the math there, but you know, that's maybe about 10,000, right, students. Unduplicated students, meaning an individual student who needs to make up something in one of these areas in grades 9 to 11, that is it's just over 6,000 unique students.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Did have another question. On the advising plans and pupil supports, you were talking about the success monitoring. I love that. Who's doing that? Who's actually doing that success monitoring, or who would you like to do that?
We ask our teachers to take that on as an additional responsibility. They get compensated for that time, but we do ask our teachers. And so across the sites, depending on the number of English learners at the site, you might have anywhere between 5 and 20 teachers who are engaged at this at each of our schools. So again, the reason for identifying teachers as that is because one, to go back into that intentional relationship building, and then that student has a connection with that staff member, and then that staff member becomes essentially like a second counselor. They're sort of adopted parent at the school, just to help make things go smoother for those students. And again, the needs of the students there, some of our English learners are doing extremely well, right? They are passing all of their classes. They are very successful. And so it's just a check-in. How are you doing? Is there anything I can do to help? And then other times, those staff members are really providing a lot of advice, support, and connection to resources at the site.
I love that idea. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you. Ms. Piercy.
I have no questions, and good report, and I've learned a couple things. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
And I would say something very similar, the totality of your report. I deeply appreciate it because it takes in so many of the specific areas of these needs, and they're multiple. And what we're going through makes it more difficult, to say the least. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I had a couple of questions kind of related to what Ms. Randall Trejo had. So you cleared one of my questions, which was to figure out the unique number of students. So you said about 6,000. Walk me through a plan that would give support for 6,000 students individually or in group setting, utilizing these funds.
So that's a wonderful question, and what I would say is that that's really not just the resources involved in this particular piece of funds, right? Those are also the systems and structures that are built into our LCAP, into my earlier presentation this year around educator effectiveness, right? All of these resources are coming together to provide this support. And this is where the role of the counselors is really critical, and their input was so essential to the development of this plan. Because that plan is going to look different based on the student need. So if I'm a 10th grader and I am missing 3 courses, right? I need to make up 3 courses. That plan might look like I'm going to address 2 of those courses in summer school. I'm going to repeat one of the courses in my junior year. I'm going to be on track, and then I just need to ensure that I am earning a C or higher in all of my other courses. That could look much different for a student who is missing 5 courses, right? So that plan may mean we need you to attend our district summer school. You're also going to enroll in a credit recovery course during the school year, and our school offers an opportunity to improve your grades during Saturday Academy, so we need to make sure you go to a Saturday Academy. So there's a lot of systems and structures we have in place, and the counselor has that responsibility to tailor that plan to the needs of the students. And so that's where, supporting our counselors and bringing on additional counselors, which we've done over the last 2 years, really helps us design those plans for each student. And the other part of that is when you think about that student voice and purpose and the development of an engaging school environment, if our students are interested in the content that's being presented in their classes, they will do better, right? And so when we talk about why are the 5 C's so important, because that helps them be more engaged in their classes. When we talk about the opportunities for dual enrollment, the opportunities to, participate in programs like cybersecurity, the agri-science community center, right? AI, the students have buy-in to their site. And so then they, right, or even traditionally we might have thought of athletics as the buy-in for a student, right? We know that not athletics isn't for every student, right? But those pathways, right, we can find the thing that is really going to interest them and keep them engaged and motivated.
Mr. Matsuda.
As Mr. Carmona said, it's a very layered approach in terms of how these kids are going to catch up. Many of our kids, though, unfortunately, are put into APEX, which is a quick, online system, and most districts use APEX. We are using it as one strategy. We like to decrease our dependence on programs like APEX because there's not a whole lot of learning going on. One of the things here was the real-time credit recovery, meaning that so why wait until the semester for a kid, and then they have to make up a whole semester? Why can't we identify that kid earlier? Let's say if they fail a unit on biology or something, take that unit again, right, in real time. At either Saturday Academy or after school, we've been experimenting with this model at Anaheim High School with some success. So I think long-term for the district is to develop using a cadence, because the teachers will be able to determine quicker if a kid's not going to make it during that semester. That's where we need to get to. We need to get off of APEX and into these types of innovative ways so we can catch the kid earlier and, more importantly, make education work for that kid, right? Because APEX is not going to get us there. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
No, I like that emphasis on making sure that we actually catch the student earlier on and then give that real-time recovery, and that's the key for us to have success for our students. So that's great. Actually, you answered the second question that I had. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. If there's no other questions from
Mr. Aljabar?
Yes, go ahead.
I was going to ask, so under the expanding access to coursework, I was going to ask, I know this kind of thinking in the future, but I know some students kind of struggle when they go, maybe they got COVID or they're at home quarantining, so they may not be getting the same education. Is there any kind of resources that we can put into kind of helping those students so that maybe they don't fall behind in that classwork as well?
So I will, I'm going to reference back to what our superintendent shared about e-cadence, right? And really why we've encouraged our teaching staff to really use that resource because, that situation, a student will find out suddenly, right? And then they'll be out for maybe 5 or 6 days, depending on what it is. And if what the teacher is engaging in the classroom is there on e-cadence, right, it makes it very easy for the student to access. And if it's a part of the regular routine, students are already accessing it, right? And I actually think one of the teachers from Brookhurst shared, right, how she's using it, right, as part of her regular routine and building that in. So I think that's a part of addressing that, is continuing to build teachers' capacity around the use of e-cadence and the value that is there. And then I do think that goes back to the work around grading equity, right? So If you're not physically there in the classroom, your experience is going to look a little bit different, and our teachers should be able to take that into account, right? So like if you showed back up after having been quarantined, you shouldn't have the same expectation in terms of, oh, I have to take this test now, or I have to take this quiz now, right? There should be an adaptation for those students. So, and this idea that even if maybe you did fall a little behind of the real-time grade recovery, right, where you can go right after school, and right after that unit of instruction is completed, so it's still fresh for the student, that's really powerful, right? And so, again, we have some sites, Anaheim, Catella, Cypress, are all doing a little bit of a different version of some of that work and want to continue building those practices. Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Got it. All right, perfect. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Carmona. Appreciate it. And now we'll go to a second report, which is 10.2, and that's the LCAP mid-year update. And I'm going to ask, Mr. Joe Carmona, go ahead.
Just give a minute to switch over the slides here. All right, again, welcome and thank you for everyone for this opportunity to share around the work that our district has been engaged in regard to our LCAP. So again, a little bit of background. Typically, we hear about the LCAP in a board meeting in June, but we're here now because, again, the Budget Act required that we provide a one-time mid-year update to the board. And the reason for that is because school districts in that budget received additional funding that might not have been included as part of the original LCAP planning process. And so that's why we are having this mid-year update. So as a reminder, the LCAP stands for our Local Control and Accountability Plan. And when you think about that, really want to start with our district vision. And so you have our Career Preparedness Systems Framework, the components involved there with technical skills, 21st century skills, and youth voice and purpose. All of those components ultimately, right, to create a better world through unlimited you. So that's our vision. The LCAP are the steps, the strategies, the plan in order to help us achieve that vision. Our LCAP has 3 goals. These have been modified and adjusted over time as we continue to have input from all of our partners. And so our first goal, students will demonstrate college, career, and life readiness and success through implementation of our 5 C's. Our second goal, provide meaningful educational engagement opportunities for all of our parents and families to advocate for all students. And our third goal, provide and nurture a safe, reflective, responsive, and positive school culture. So when you look at the engagement process that our district does in developing the LCAP, that's a very robust and rigorous process. I'm grateful to Mr. Colon and his leadership in laying out the foundations for that process, our school administrators, our FACES staff for bringing our parents in, our community partners, both in higher ed and local organizations, who've all played a very critical role in the development of our plan. And so that process in and of itself is quite extensive. Additionally, we have surveys that go out to all of our various groups, and then we work with a number of advisory groups. We have a teacher input group. We have district task forces. We have our DLAC, our superintendent's advisory, and all of that input comes together in that process to help us form the goals and strategies that we will deliver for our students. So when we look at the additional funds provided to our district, how were these funds used? So first and foremost, they were used to address the effects of COVID-19. They were used for testing and vaccination efforts. We were active in our community. We provided testing at our schools. We provided vaccinations at our schools. Contact tracing, that's going on right this minute, actually, to ensure that our staff and our students know when it is safe for them to return to being in person in the classroom. We engaged in community forums where we battled misinformation about vaccines, about the transmission and spread of COVID-19, and informing our parents about what resources were available to them. And lastly, the development of safety protocols to ensure that our staff, our students, and those we serve can visit our sites safely and access their education. Part of that is planned upgrades to our heating and air conditioning and ventilation systems, which is beyond the additional air filters that are present in all of our classrooms, our office spaces, and public areas. Additionally, we have planned outdoor learning spaces that we will be adding to our sites. So our facilities department, under the direction of Patty Neely, did a tremendous job during the year of distance learning, adding some of those spaces to our campuses and upgrading existing spaces. They're beautiful. And so we will be adding to those already existing spaces, so our teachers and our sites have access to additional covered spaces that have Wi-Fi access, that have power, right? Like it's not just a shade structure, right? So these are really spaces designed to have an opportunity to do learning and instruction in those spaces. Additionally, through our LCAP process, we heard loud and clear the need for more staff at our sites. And so these funds have been used, and I've detailed some of the categories of staff we've supported. 89 additional teachers district-wide, 19 additional counselors, 12 additional social workers, 11 psychologists, 11 career and college readiness specialists, 10 additional community liaisons, and 6 additional speech and language pathologists. So I'm very proud of the support of the board and all of our human resources departments who worked around the clock through the summer and the beginning of the school year in order to make sure that we had high quality candidates to fill all of these, right? And so these are not just how many, you see the number, these are actual employees. These are not, we wanted to hire 89 teachers, but we only hired 80. No, these are the actual people providing services to our students right now. So this slide here shows a little bit of the difference, or shows the difference between what we used when we were planning the LCAP last spring, in comparison to the amount that was actually delivered to the district through the governor's budget, which was finally signed once our school year had actually begun already. And so that total is broken up across different funds, right? So you'll see the biggest bulk of that funds actually came in federal funds, the biggest difference for a total difference of just over $50 million. So part of this is looking at the metrics that we have built into our LCAP. At this point in the year, not all of those metrics do we have available data yet, but for many of them we do. And so I shared here on the slides a few of those pieces. First is graduation rate. So the class of 2020, district-wide, we saw a 92.3 rate. Continued with an over 90% rate for the class of 2021. Our A to G completion, again, 52.8 to 52%. Students who demonstrate college preparedness through the EAP. So here, this is measured in the standardized CASP. And so I just want to highlight here that, you know, the previous results are from 18-19, that's the baseline year. And then the results from 2020-2021, you'll actually see we improved upon those results. Those results happened during distance learning. So the persistence of our students and our staff to meet this state obligation is to be applauded. You know, this is not something that we spend a tremendous amount of resources and energy on because there are more important drivers than these tests. But the conditions under which we had to do this and continue to show the growth of our students, it's not so much about these results. This is actually a reflection of the quality of instruction happening at all of our schools. And that speaks to our purpose, our 5 C's, and the development of our technical skills. D&F rates. So the fall of 2020, the completion of the first semester of distance learning, 28% of all grades given at the end of that semester were a D or an F. And this fall, that is 15.4% of all grades. And again, this is a tremendous resiliency on the behalf of our students and our teachers returning to in-person instruction. And that's actually the lowest fall D&F rate in the last 4 years. So that's before the pandemic. So our folks are doing tremendous work. We have the seal of biliteracy. So you can see there 1,100 students in the class of 2020 and just over 1,300 students for the class of 2021. And then enrollment in post-secondary options. So you'll see there was a slight decline here from 70% to 64%, and that decline happened almost entirely in 2-year college enrollment. I know this has been a discussion with our college partners about how to address this. Obviously, the pandemic had a lot to do with why this is, and as we continue to prepare our students to be A to G eligible and to show them the opportunities they have with the pledge to attend a 2-year college tuition free, we expect that this enrollment will rebound. It will take some time, and I know the collaborative has been discussing this, but we expect that this will rebound as we continue to recover, or I would say make ourselves stronger. I don't know if we're going to recover from the pandemic. We're going to strengthen ourselves, and this enrollment will continue to improve. And then lastly, just in terms of expenditures, in our plan, we had $157 million worth of expenditures included. We've spent, as of the beginning of the year, just over $42 million. Some expenditures that you don't see there yet because they are planned to be coming up. So I mentioned those HVAC projects and ventilation and those outdoor learning spaces. So those are in the planning process right now, right? We have architects, DSA approval, all of those components. And so actual work on those is slated to begin this fall. And then obviously summer programs, which we've expanded to include enrichment. We're having opportunities for junior high students, which we never had before, will be happening this June. So those are all expenditures not reflected yet in terms of where we are currently. So with that, this concludes my report, and I welcome the opportunity for any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Corona. Any questions from the board? Ms. Randall Trejo.
Thank you for this report. I love that we're doing this now and right before we start thinking about doing the LCAP process. So this is awesome. The numbers are fantastic. I couldn't be any more pleased. I was just wondering on the metrics for the graduation enrollment dates. Would you happen to know the national average or the state average?
I do not know the national average. The state average is much lower. especially when you look at our low-income students. The rate at which we graduate low-income students is a barometer of equity, almost, I don't want to say it's unmatched, but the rate at which we graduate low-income students and have them prepared A to G, we significantly outperform the state. So that's, I don't take any responsibility for that work, so that's something as a district to be quite proud of.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Ms. Piercy.
I really don't have any questions, but I'm really pleased to see that 2021 did not drop as much from our rates of 2020, considering that was all, and that was a tough year, you know, all online. And I think it's kudos to the teachers who worked hard that we didn't drop as much, and you know, in all of these categories. We dropped, granted, but considering the awful year and all online, I think the teachers did a good job. So let's hope it bounces back up again.
I like to say that our efforts last year were heroic. I don't use that word lightly. I think every staff member, I think our parents and our communities were heroic. And so, you know, I really think it's important we acknowledge their contributions as part of the educational system and the leadership of the board to institute a COVID-19 waiver to take action when others didn't. So, you know, from top to bottom, this is an amazing community that we're a part of and we have the honor to serve. And last year really was many heroic efforts up and down the line of folks involved with educating our students.
Ms. Smith?
Well, I was going to say thank you, and I was going to use the word remarkable, but I think your word heroic is much more appropriate because we were going into such an unknown. It was just out there. How do you grab it when you can't get a hold of it? And I would say heroic is a much better term. And thank you, thank you.
Yeah, and I think that if you look back on that year, the key difference, besides all the things that Mr. Carmona said, was the design of the professional development from the curriculum specialists based on the national online standards. Our teachers, when we shifted, were focused on engaging our kids, creating communities as best they could, right? That's the heroic part, because we are outperforming many districts with similar demographics. And as Joe said, we are well above the state average. So, you know, the curriculum specialists, I mean, a lot of people deserve a lot of credit, but those guys really created targeted professional development. And as you know, last summer, our teachers were trained on national online standards, and we're like the only district that did that. And I think that's the key difference maker.
I would just like to add a thank you to you, Mike. You've been a wonderful leader, and your team are just exceptional people, and they're all heroes too. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to commend everybody involved. Again, going back to curriculum specialists to our teachers, especially our frontline teachers who had to not only had to go through a lot during the pandemic, but they actually kept this going for our kids. And if you take a look at the numbers, I'm amazed. Yeah, we're well above the state average. And I think we're also outperforming some of our districts around us. So that's great and talks about the resilience in our community and our students. So thank you for all the work, and thank you to the parents. Appreciate all the effort that they're putting in at home as well. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. Carmona.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is our public comments piece. And I will go ahead and read the preamble here. Opportunities for public comments occur at the beginning of each agenda item And at this time, for items not on the agenda, persons wishing to address the Board of Trustees should complete a speaker request form, which is a blue form, available on the information table at the back of the room and submitted to the executive assistant prior to the meeting. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes, and each topic in the item is limited to 20 minutes. Board members cannot immediately respond to public comments as stated on the speaker request form. Having said that, I have about 9 speaker request form for Anaheim High School colonists named related. So I'm going to go ahead and restrict the minutes to 3 minutes for each speaker on that particular topic. And then I do have a Walker High School speaker who wants to talk about a Walker High School issue. So let me start off with them, and that's Victorino Supan. Go ahead. Come on now. Yes, oh, I'm sorry. And then we do have our timer right there. Okay. And that timer will beep when it is. It will be green during speaking time. It will beep at a 1 minute warning. Okay. 1 minute warning.
All right.
So.
Okay. Hi, good evening, board members. My name is Victorino Supan. I'm father of Conrad Supan, who is an 8th grader at Walker. Oh, good evening, Superintendent Matsuda. I'm not sure if this is the right venue, but my son is having how would I say it? It started with the basketball tryouts, and he was doing well, and 3 kids gang up on him, and he tried to fight back, and good thing Coach Former came and pulled him out of the group, but it was deemed as mutual because he tried to defend himself against 3 kids. And then I got a call from the school explaining what happened, so I said, and they said it's mutual, so I said it's okay. So I think it's a one-time incident. But then there was a concern more because after that incident, and part of that students that hurt my son posted in Discord that my son threatened to shoot the school. And after that, other students joined in Discord and doxed him, put his picture in Discord, and incited violence against my son. They said to shoot him, to punch him in the throat, to hurt him, and very hurtful words, right? Called cuss words with my son. So I wrote to the school. I tried to explain this what happened. I gave all the screenshots in Discord and all that. So they said they're going to look into it, but I never really see any concrete action. I was told I'm not privy to that information. So I said, okay, I trust the school that they're doing the right thing. So the second incident happened. My son went to his friend, Jason, because my son plays baseball for Cypress and Crescent Little League. So he has a friend there who plays baseball with him, and he wants to join the group and talk to them about baseball or sports. And then one kid there said, we don't want you to be here. I don't want you to come to this group, right? And then my son stood his ground and said, no, why not? They're also my friends. And then there's a lot of trash talking and shoving, and my son got punched in the head 5 times for standing up to this big kid. Can I say his name? Okay, I'd rather not. All right, so that was the second incident. And again, I wrote to the school, and I said, what are we going to do about it? I said, in one of my emails, I said, I predicted this by putting my son in that, accusing him of being a shooter or potential shooter of the school. It put a target on him. But everyone, my son was telling me days, weeks after that, months, people are taunting him and mocking him. When are you going to shoot the school? You better tell us. We're going to beat you up before you shoot the school. So everybody wants us to think or believe what was put in the Discord, in the social media. So my son is not paying attention to this. He just not paying attention, he just avoid trouble. He just walks and does his thing. And again, I reached out to the school. I wrote, I said, this is happening, so what are we going to do about it? I need your help to clear my son's name. Concrete steps needs to happen to vindicate my son that he never threatened to shoot the school, right? And as far I said, I suggest that if this student who fabricated the story, if he can post in Discord and to say that he fabricated it, and it was all a lie, it wasn't true, and he apologized, I think that would put it to bed. So I suggested that, so the school administrator did talk to the student, and I was told they did, right? And I was given a screenshot of it, but when I asked my son, where is it, can you show it to me? They said, my son said it's not there anymore, they took it out. So I think they just, maybe for a short period of time, just to satisfy the request from the school administrator, then they took it down, they removed it, and then they showed the screenshot to the administrator and said, okay, you've done your part. And then, again, the taunting, the mocking happened. Remember there was a TikTok video that came out on the last day of school? That came out, and again, they're taunting my son. Are you going to shoot the school? When are you going to shoot the school? So I said, don't come to school that last day, because, there's this TikTok video that came out, and I don't want kids, hurting him again. And then again, I appealed to the school. There are several emails I wrote, but I'm not getting responses, and that's what brought me here. And the third incident of recorded incident, I'm not even counting those things that he was ostracized from groups. He was told to leave groups of friends. When he wants to join them and chat with them during break time, he's always say, leave, we don't want you to be a part of a group.
Thank you, Mr. Supan. I know your time is up, but thank you for coming out and speaking to us. And I'm going to have Jaren meet with you right outside.
Can I just do one last? So the third incident happened. They make my son look stupid by vandalizing the school, writing his name using a science experiment, sanitizer and soap, big letters, his name, and then they poured water on him. Cold water, they emptied the entire water bottle on him. And my son didn't fight at all. He just grabbed the water bottle, emptied it. And this student did it several times to him, right? So I didn't wait for the school anymore to act, because nothing's going to happen.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you again. I know I got to make sure that we keep
No, just one more point.
Okay.
So what I did
what I would suggest, sir, is I'm going to have Jaren speak to you.
Okay. Go ahead.
And then, Jaren, if you can go ahead and give us a update on this and what the school's done and what we have progressed, I really appreciate it for all board members. And I'm sure Jaren will follow up with you on that one, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
for
Mr.
giving me the
Supan.
time to speak.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. I'm going to ask the next few speakers to come in. And again, I'm just kind of reminding you, because this item has plenty of speakers, I'm going to restrict the time to 3 minutes each. And as Mr. Carl actually mentioned, you will go through that one more process so that we remind everybody.
It will be green during speaking time. The initial bell will flash yellow. That's a 1-minute warning. That close is determined.
All right. I will call the first speaker, Virginia Carmelo. Okay, then who actually put in the, oh, you did? Okay, next time, let's make sure that when they're here, let them go ahead and put in so that we make sure that we are able to go ahead and figure out how much speaking time each person gets, okay? So, thank you very much. So he's not here either, okay. All right, Shannon Reavers.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board, members of the board. My name is Shannon Rivers. I am currently the Director of Programming for the American Indian Resurgence Native Ways to College initiative here in Los Angeles County. We are focusing on developing new curriculum within LAUSD and charter schools and schools throughout LA County and Anaheim, Orange County with regards to curriculum change or adoption. And what we're looking at is we're hoping, because my brother David back there and members of this committee have been successful in changing the Columbus Day to the Indigenous Peoples Day here in Anaheim. We've been very successful at doing so. My hope is that we develop a new style curriculum, not under ethnic studies, not under anthropology, but something that is American Indian or Indigenous studies. What this does then, it is opens up the opportunity for all students to take this class or this course within Anaheim High School. I know that we are looking at a test pilot here with Anaheim High School. This is the suggestion here tonight, that we develop a curriculum that is based on American Indian or Indigenous studies. Specifically, that it focuses on the First Nations people, the Tongva, and other local Indigenous tribes and nations that are here. We have been placed under social science, we've been placed under ethnic studies or history, and even anthropology. And anthropology has this idea that we no longer are here. In fact, there are over 170,000 Native Americans in LA County. A large population of them live in not only Los Angeles County, but throughout Los Angeles itself. And I would ask and argue that you would have to understand the history of relocation for Indigenous peoples and why there's such a large population here in LA County. And the Relocation Act of 1940s and 1950s for Indigenous peoples. Getting back to the curriculum, however, it is important for, we see a spike and a rise periodically in this country on prejudice, and Indigenous peoples are not immune to that. Unfortunately, we've seen that with the teacher out at Riverside Unified School District. And so what we would like to see is that a curriculum change or adoption into the curriculum that is currently existing, and recognize that Indigenous peoples, Native American people, are not only here, but play a significant role politically, socially, and economically within LA County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. Thank you. All right, our next speaker is David Garcia.
Good evening. My name is David Garcia, and I had come before the Board of Trustees previously. So I just want to echo what my friend has just said, because it's truly important. My name is David Garcia, and I'm a member of the Tohono Nation, desert people here in southern Arizona. We are the second largest federally recognized tribe in the United States. So what I would like to do is present basically what I had spoke about, the International Declaration on Indigenous Peoples. So I would like to quote, and it's basically affirming, reaffirming, and the concern, and then recognizing. So let me begin, and I quote, affirming Indigenous peoples equal to all peoples, to be different and to be respected as such. Affirming also contributing to the diversity and richness of civilization and cultures which constitute common heritage of humankind. Affirming further all doctrines, policies, and practices based on or advocating superiority of peoples or individuals on the basis of national origin or racial, religious, ethnic, or cultural differences are racist, scientifically false, legally invalid, morally condemnable, and socially unjust. Reaffirming for free from discrimination of any kind, concerned Indigenous peoples have suffered from historic injustices as a result of causalization and disposition. Welcoming and an end to all forms of discrimination and oppression where they occur, and recognizing that the situation of Indigenous peoples varies from region to region, and regional particularities and various historically and cultural background should be taken into consideration, unquote. So again, let me just leave you with this. Just yesterday, on the national news, the Washington Skins had done away with their mascot, and now they're known as the Washington Commodores, I believe, Commanders. So having said that, as I had said previously, that throughout the United States, indigenous people, tribes are pushing for doing away with the mascot as well as the name. And so I bring it back to Anaheim, as it was said earlier by Shannon Rivers. We were able to suggest and then finally meet with the Cultural Heritage Committee of Anaheim, and that was the beginning of the relationship. So that's what I want to leave you with. So thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Thank you.
All right, Lizette Barrios Garcia.
Good evening, buenas noches. My name is Lizette Barrios Gracian. I am an AUHSD alumni. 3 of my kids graduated from the district, and I'm going on my 21st year teaching here at the district. I'm here today to ask you that our district recognize Indigenous Peoples Day and that we form a relationship with the elders in our community, the Indigenous elders, so that we can go ahead and form bonds that are long overdue. I am on the team writing the curriculum that will be presented to our students on Native American experience as it was decided on the board meeting of December. But I am afraid that if we don't partner up with our Native American community, we might end up further insulting our Indigenous communities. We lack the knowledge and their perspective, and I find that telling their story without having them at the table is arrogant. We have the opportunity to form bonds that will heal our community. I would like to see our students understanding that Native communities are not a thing of the past, are not peoples of the past. They are here today, that we should be working alongside with them. The city of Anaheim is planning a park, which part of that park will be dedicated to the Tongva people. And wouldn't it be great if we can form a partnership so that our students can understand their culture, their history, what they are facing now, that they are part of us, that they are our neighbors, instead of looking at it through, like it has been mentioned, through the lens of anthropology, as if they were not here today. So I'm begging the board that we form a partnership so that our students get the true meaning of what Native experience is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Garcia. Just if you can just hold on for a moment. I think the intent of the board with the resolution was that, to make sure that we actually partner not only with our students, but also bring people to the table.
Yes.
So as a teacher on that committee, I would hope that you actually advocate on behalf of that, and that happens at the local level. So,
yes, I am, and I will be contacting also our, since we're becoming a community school, I will also be contacting Martin Calderon, who heads when it comes to the teachers at the community school level.
Perfect.
But I've also talked to our team about that.
Thank you. All right, appreciate it. Marianne Almero.
Bonjour, members of the board. My name is Marianne. My native name is Jitotque. It means creative woman, and I come as a representative of the citizen Potawatomi Nation. I'm a 28-year resident of Anaheim and an alumni of Sunkist Sycamore and Anaheim High School. I was educated within your district, And not once in my education here was I ever presented with history lessons told from the perspective of Indigenous people, but instead the perspectives of the colonists who saw my people and our sacred ways of being as less than. This is not the fault of any particular person in this room. It is the fault of the Eurocentric standpoint that our educational process has been built upon. It is the commonality of many people of color that education on our history and from our perspective is given to us from within our households, our community, or by research we conduct on our own. This means that those who are not people of color, or those like me who have had their history erased through the process of assimilation and colonization, are left with only the perspective of the colonist, leading to widespread ignorance that feeds institutional racism. This is why the bill requiring ethnic studies as a graduation requirement is so important. This is the only way many students are exposed to different perspectives of history or see themselves represented well in the classroom. Prior to ethnic studies, there was nothing of the sort. Perhaps there are some of you on the board who have never been exposed to Indigenous history in this region until we came to speak asking for a change of the colonist name and mascot. Once again, this is not the fault of anyone here in this room. However, the ramifications and responsibility falls on all of us. With that being said, it was a great success for the board to have voted in favor of introducing Native American history and the greater history of Hutugna, what's now known as Anaheim, to the curriculum of Anaheim High School. However, because it is Native Indigenous people who are the gatekeepers of our history, we are asking that we, the Indigenous community, work alongside you as well as the task force in a partnership to create and introduce this curriculum for the students. In this way, the students may be enriched with the stories that were passed down through generations, history and traditions that never made it into the textbooks, yet are relevant to the land we stand on and to the heritage of the students that we serve. As Al-Jabbar stated at the meeting in December, this is where we bring people together. We look forward to the chance to work with you, to learn from one another, and grow together to build a more kind and just community. I'll be in contact with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Mara. Maza.
Yekwe, hello. Kualita Yoba, buenas noches, good night. My name is Masat. I'm an alumni from Anaheim High School, class of 98. I'm a resident of Anaheim High School, and I graduated from a Native American art school. I want to read that letter that Virginia Carmelo wrote. Let's move Anaheim towards a more exclusive and dignified future by removing the mascot and the name colonist. Many schools and national sports teams have come to a rational understanding of negative impact of mascots that are offensive and harmful. They have chosen, in a spirit of respect, understanding, and the for better benefit of communities, to remove their distasteful mascot name, such as actions in our country demonstrate that removing long-time negative representations of oppression, racism, and inequality are a step towards healing and pervasive and historical injustice towards minorities, specifically Native Americans and Indigenous peoples. That includes the Mexicans and the Chicanos in the barrios in the Southwest. There's 40 million presently that are not state or federally recognized by the U.S. government because we lost, there was a treaty that was broken by this government in 1848, Treaty Guadalupe Hidalgo. This is a historical disconnect between the colonist, quote, a depicted by the Anaheim High School mascot and much later German colonist in Anaheim. Quote, colonists arrived in the Americas East Coast until 1600s, were never in California. Colonists predates the establishments of the United States and democracy, quote, colonists worldwide took indigenous lands as their own under violent, dehumanizing methods, raids, and warfare, which is the reason the word should not represent the high school students. The word colonist needs to get abolished, executed. Execute that word colonist. It will happen with time with the education, obviously, the colonization. 1857, Germans had planned a project to move Anaheim's where, in fact, investors was local Native American, tongue was an indigenous agricultural workers, Mexican indigenous, that made possible the water supply and land preparations for the vineyards of the Germans could prosper. 3 years later, when all was ready, the Germans arrived to make their homes unceded land. During this same era, local natives barely survived in Croatian, having suffered 90% loss of population under horrifying attempts to completely exterminate indigenous peoples and take the land. For Native Americans, the term colonist is a reminder of our cruel and distorted treatment of our ancestors still to this day. In 1963, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said the following. Dr. Jose Moreno, he's one of us, and he's been disrespected so many times at their city council as well by the colonists. Our nation was born in genocide when embraced, this is a quote from Martin Luther King Jr., Our nation was born in genocide when it embraced the doctrine that the original American, the Indian, was inferior race, even before there were large numbers of Negroes in our shores. The scar of racial hatred and already disfigured colonial society. From the 16th century toward blood flowed battles of racial supremacy. We are perhaps the only nation which tried in matters of national policy to wipe the indigenous population. Moreover, it elevated the tragic experience into a noble crusade. Indeed, even today we have not permitted ourselves to reject the filled remorse of a shameful episode. Our literature, our films, and our drama, our folklore are all exalt. Let us be forward thinking, responsible to all. Let us create a much needed satisfied. So this is from Virginia Carmelo, and I want to recommend the school board and the teacher Lizette. This book is called, we should be requiring the high school to make the students read this. It's called First Families, a photography history of the California Indians. And El Jabbar, thank you so much for what you stand for everybody, and Trujillo and everybody else. This is for you, El Jabbar. Who can I give this to so he can get this? This is the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Thank you, and it shows you more information.
All right, Penelope Luna.
Yekwe ni tocan, Penelope Chichimeca Guachichili Aquilosh Ixachitlan Tonguatzi Tlali. Hello, my name is Penelope. I'm Guachichili Chichimeca First Nation native to Ichitlan, what is now called America by colonists. I'd like to give my respect to the Tongva Nation, whose land we are now on. On December 14, 2021, at the Anaheim Unified School District Board meeting, a young Indigenous woman, our sister, was verbally assaulted with racist and anti-Indigenous remarks and physically harassed, pushed, and grabbed by Speed Castillo outside the district doors. This could have been a student, a staff member, your child. A police report was filed. There is video evidence. This case is actively under investigation to hold Speed Castillo accountable for physical assault. Shortly after entering, ironically, Speed Castillo was congratulated for the Peace and Kindness Award. He is a liability to our children. He is to be held accountable. He is a colonist. There is no pride in being a colonist. To be a colonist historically is to be a murderer and a rapist. Colonists arrived to Ixatlan in 1492 with the intention of profiting from our land and enslaving our people, hiding behind the disguise of a savior and using it to justify exploitation and murder of our relatives across the northern and southern continent. Mass genocide took place on these lands. We now walk over graves. Before 1492, the native population was over 112 million. Now, after 500 years of genocide, it has dropped 90% to 6 million. To continue to call yourself colonists is to advocate abuse in the school system, to perpetuate genocide on native land. We demand that you remove the colonist name, as well as the mascot, and pay reparations to the families who attend your school. We demand reparations for the psychological abuse of making kids say, once a colonist, always a colonist. You are concerned about the money it will cost you to change the name, but it cost us in blood for you to be here now, on our land. As public servants, you have a responsibility to end this cycle of violence and rape. We are here to speak for our children who you do not hear. How can you be ignorant to the context we are living in? By calling yourself colonists, you are continuing the cycle of genocide and forced assimilation. Historically, colonists systematically stole the children, forcing them into residential schools that indoctrinated, abused, and slaughtered them.
Ms. Luna, if you could wrap it up.
That's all.
Thank you very much. Okay, I have Tochi Kali.
Greetings, good evening, thank you. Ndoji Tokashlis Kariskese Nasarandis. I just wanted to address the question of genocide is never far from discussions of settler colonism. And so you voted to take the symbol of the mascot, the Quaker, out, but you didn't eliminate the word colonist. And there's a connection. And just really quickly, land is life, land is necessary for life. And you see, so indigenous people respect the land to have life. And that's part of who we are as indigenous, just human beings. So when you call things that have a reference to colonization, and the Quaker, the symbol, it represents genocide and the things that took place. And it doesn't make sense to remove the symbol but not remove the word, because there's a connection to genocide. And therefore, cultural genocide is elimination, refers to the summary liquidation of indigenous people. So another form of genocide, it talks about the logic of elimination has manifested as genocide, and settler colonization has employed organizing the grammar of race. And it's all about oppression. And I would ask that you would re-vote, retake account, and look at the whole community. The whole community, not just the school. As you heard, all these organizations educating everybody about the story of the original people of this land needs to be considered and re-voted on. Because you've already admitted by taking the symbol out, but it's like half an admission to not take the word colonist out. So it doesn't make sense. So once again, that's oppressing us. So please consider the vote again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. All right. Well, thank you all for coming in and speaking to the board today. And we'll go ahead and move to our next agenda item, items of business, educational services. 12.1, school-sponsored student organizations.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor, and we will also take the vote of our student ambassador. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes unanimously, including our student ambassador's vote. Next, we go into resolutions. Resolution number 2021/2022-B-14, request for proposals for managed print solutions and other related electronic equipment, partisan services, and this is a roll call vote.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And Ms. Randall Trejo, I'm sorry, do you have any questions? Anybody?
No.
With no questions? Ms. Randall Trejo?
Aye.
Ms. Piercy?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Motion and I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. Resolution number 12.3, resolution number 2021/22-E-10, Career and Technical Education Month.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, I just wanted to say this is great. I'm glad that I don't know if you have a representative from ROP. If not, we'll go ahead and take the vote, and we'll go, Ms. Randall Trejo.
Aye.
Ms. Piercy?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.4, resolution number 2021/22-E-11, National Parent Teacher Association Founders Day.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. We'll take that. Any comments?
just that it's over a century ago that we had this PTA established, and it's still going strong. And they
Right.
do a good job.
Perfect. Having said that, Ms. Randall Trejo,
I vote aye.
Ms. Piercy,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. Resolution 12.5, resolution number 2021/2022-E-12, National African American History Month.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, Ms. Randall Trejo,
I vote aye.
Ms. Piercy,
Aye.
Ms. Smith,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion passes, resolution passes 4-0. 12.6, resolution number 2021/2022-E-13, Read Across America 2022. Roll call vote.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second, a vote. Or you have a comment?
Yes, okay. Read Across America has been done for many years, and it's held on March 2nd. And unfortunately, this year, like last year, not a lot of people can go in and read to the classrooms. That has been the protocol that we've done. I know that I went in quite a few years in a row reading on that day to the classrooms, and it is so enjoyable to sit and read to a class of kids. But unfortunately, right now in my area, I know that elementary schools are not letting people onto the campus. It's just the kids. So in our area, we're going to try, well, my Kiwanis Club is going to try to do this. We're going to tape us reading a book and then try to give it to, the school. So, because we can't go into the school, they stop you at the gate, So I walk my grandchildren to the school every morning, but I stop at the gate and they go in. We used to be able to go in and do walk around, and they played music in the morning, and you could sit and, or not sit, stand and talk, but unfortunately, COVID has changed that. So, but anyway, I encourage that anybody that can maybe, make a video of yourself reading and give it to the schools that's in your area.
It's a great idea.
Thank you, Ms. Piercy, for the suggestion. All right. We'll take a vote. And Ms. Randall Trejo.
I vote aye.
Ms. Piercy.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.7, resolution number 2021/2022-E-14, Preserve Music in Our Schools Month.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
Oh, yes, this is so important, and it's so necessary, and it's so nice when I see people donating musical instruments and whatever to schools, and getting music back in the elementary schools. This is so important, and I just want everyone to get on the bandwagon. Let's have music in our schools as well as art and reading, of course.
All right, thank you, Ms. Piercy. Anybody else? All right, seeing
And just to emphasize that we've never, disregarded our music programs in AUHSD. We've always
Right.
kept them strong, and we really care about our VAPA programs, so.
And you all know that music has a high correlation to math. It really enables students to do their math work easier. It's amazing, but it does work. So it's important. We teach music just like we teach art. It is very important. They're not just frill classes.
Thank you, Ms. Piercy.
All right.
All right, our vote, Ms. Randall Trejo.
Aye.
Ms. Piercy.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Big aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.8, resolution number 2021/2022-E-15, Women History Month.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Seeing none, we'll take a vote.
It's a good month.
Yes, it is.
Majority up here on the dais.
That's right. Ms. Randall Trejo.
Aye.
Ms. Piercy.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.9, resolution number 2021/2022-E-16, Arts Education Month.
I move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and I'm sure.
Very important.
Perfect.
Arts.
All right. Having said that, we'll take any other comments? That's very important. All right. Vote. Ms. Randall Trejo.
Aye.
Ms. Piercy?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
And I vote aye, a big aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.10, resolution number 2021/2022-E-17, National Athletic Training Month.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any comments? Having none, we'll go for a vote, and that's Ms. Randall Trejo,
Aye.
Ms. Piercy,
Aye.
Ms. Smith, and I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.11, resolution number 2021/2022-E-18,
So
Take Down
moved.
Tobacco Day, and we have a motion on the floor.
And a second.
And a second. All right, perfect. I'll call for a vote. Ms. Randall Trejo.
Aye.
Ms. Piercy.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.12, resolution number 2021/2022-E-19 through with 2 week.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And with no, any comments? Seeing none? Oh,
Well, I wasn't aware this was a major problem around here, but it is a problem nationwide. And a lot of them think it's safer because it's not smoking, but it's just as deadly.
Yep.
And we need to make sure that kids are educated about that.
absolutely. Thank you very much. And we'll call for a vote. Ms. Randall Trejo?
Aye.
Ms. Piercy?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. 12.13, resolution number 2021/22/HR/05, adopting staffing flexibility measures in accordance with Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-3-22. Again, this is a roll call vote. Any comments?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I think this is great. I'm glad that we have that flexibility for our districts. With that,
Yes, and I agree, and I just can't, and like I said, I just learned about these restrictions because, of course, now, when I was subbing a number of years ago, we didn't have all these restrictions, so a lot of these were brought on afterward. For whatever reason, it's made it very difficult, so it's about time they start peeling them back.
all right, call for a vote. Ms. Randall Trejo.
Aye.
Ms. Piercy.
Aye.
Ms. Smith.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion passes 4-0. The next two items, 12.14 and 12.15, was actually removed at the beginning of the agenda adoption. Now we go to educational services. 12.16, local control accountability plan, Every Student Succeeds Act, federal addendum, and it's an action item.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or? Nope, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. 12.17, agreement with Orange County Department of Education, peer-led campaign advisor incentive, action item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
No.
Seeing none, I have a question. I just had a question regarding, I just saw that Savannah High School applied and was selected. Was there any other schools who applied from our district?
I'd have to check with Dr. Cruz, but not to my knowledge. But I'd have to confirm with Dr. Cruz.
Okay.
I know Savannah, I know Savannah did proactively go out and apply to get it, but I don't know that other schools did.
Okay, and I think this goes back to some of my comments and my questions in the past too. I just want to make sure that I know there are criterias, right? But if there is an opportunity for us to actually apply and get selected for a program like this, let's just encourage all our schools to apply, because I think we have, good programs and we have opportunities. And I think all of our schools need to take that opportunity to do it. So I wanted to please emphasize that to the education.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Said that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, congratulations to Savannah, and motion passes 4-0. 12.18, revised board policy 7704.11, music organizations. This is an action and information item. This is our second reading. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously, or 4-0. 12.19, Educational Consulting Agreement, is it Flippoint Entertainment?
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or suggestions?
No,
Seeing-
I am enthralled to watch this at our presentation on the 11th.
On the
right?
11th, yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh,
All right, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 12.20, Educational Consulting Agreement, Le Ballet d'Embaya of Los Angeles.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any comments?
Another one.
Yep, another great one. I'm looking forward to it. Having said that, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 12.21, Agreement, Soliant Health LLC, with the correction that the services provider at the cost of $6,720. That was a correction that we made.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And we are at consent calendar. Anybody want to pull an item?
Motion for the balance?
Move for all of consent calendar, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. And now we go to Superintendent's office. Conference, oh, no, that was taken care of. It's Superintendent staff report.
No report at this time?
No report? No report? I'm going through, for those of you who are watching, I'm actually asking everybody. So, any reports?
Anybody?
No reports.
Speak up.
All right, and then we'll go to Board of Trustee report. I'll start with Ms. Randall Trejo.
I was just able to go to the online ethnic task force for just a few minutes, and they looked like they had wrapped up a lot of things, and that's moving along. I am really proud of that group. They've worked really hard to build consensus in that group, and it looks like a few courses are coming through, so I'm really proud of them. I was also on the Food is Medicine Town Hall, which was just wow, just floored me. The partnerships that are formed with the Magnolia, I'm going to call it the farm because it's just easier for me to remember it that way. But just the extent of the science and just the idea of saying that food is medicine really is enticing, and to look at food in that way as a healing factor. The outreach to our kids, it's not just going to be for Magnolia students, but it's going to be for a lot of our students across the district. I'm really excited about what's going to be developed there, what is already being developed there. It's already far along, and I want to thank you, Michael, for your vision of this, and thank you to everyone else to make it happen. The folks that are connected with it, they're all going to do a great job. They're extremely passionate, and it's just another example of, you know, what we can do, what we are doing in this district, and we've got a farm. It's just amazing. So congratulations on that, and looking forward to the Tet Parade on Saturday. Going to get my steps in, walk in the parade route again, and then I was also invited to sing at the Tet celebration, or the Lunar the moon celebration at the OC Fair. So I will be singing for that celebration. And I'm just really honored that the Vietnamese community have invited me and accepted me in their celebration. So looking forward to that. And so happy Lunar New Year to everyone, as our student trustee pointed out earlier. And happy Lunar New Year to the community. And it's the year of the tiger, which is my year as well. So pass it on.
All right. Ms. Piercy.
Okay, I attended a couple of student discipline meetings, and at the last one, we have worked out a survey that is being sent to all personnel, all our administrators, our staff people, asking some questions about how they feel about discipline on campus, and it's all going to be compiled. Has it been sent out? No.
It's going to go out after February 8th.
February 8th.
After survey closes, then we're going to send it out.
Oh, okay. And I kind of perused it. I went on and kind of looked at some of the questions, and I'm really glad to see that, and I think it'll be really good. And then that'll give us an idea of what's happening, because this is a unique year. I mean, we're back after a year and a half of being gone, so things are different. The kids are different. Okay, and then I attended the CSBA budget symposium or budget workshop, whatever you want to call it, on Zoom. Interesting. Then I attended at Cypress High School their new symposium on careers. Now, they have speakers. They brought in a speaker who was a graduate of Cypress High School. He is a newsman, a news anchor. He, flies the airplane around, or he did that for a while, but he's been in recording, announcing news now for 10 or some years, and I can't remember his name. I wrote it down somewhere else, and I forgot that paper. But I really enjoyed it. It was the first one. They held it in the morning on a late start morning, and they came from their zero periods. There was a couple little things that they need to work on, because some of the kids, when the bell rang, they thought they had to get up and leave, and that was kind of like, but they'll work on that. But they're going to have another one next month with a different type of career, but he was very well received. He did a great job of talking to the kids, talking about how he got involved in it, and how it's maybe not a big area to think about it. It's a little difficult, but if he wanted to do something like that, how he got into it, he really did a really good job. A lot of kids afterwards stopped to ask him individual questions, even after they had the opportunity. And then a lot of the teachers remembered him. So a lot of the teachers were there to say hi and congratulations. So that was, I really enjoyed it. And then on Martin Luther King Day, I went to Magnolia High School, and amazing the number of people out there working, the community as well as the kids. And they got all the berry farm section lined up and ready to go. And it was, I think some kids were really learning things were a little more difficult than they thought. Just putting in posts, these kids were out there trying to hammer in these posts, and they weren't going in as fast as they thought they should. And some of these boys that thought they were strong, maybe, okay, a little more difficult than I thought. But it was really amazing to see. They'd already planted so many of these berry vines, got the post up to start, wiring it on so they'd have the wires to go on up. They were spreading out fertilizer and soil. They did a lot of work. A lot of these kids are out there with shovels and hose. They've never done this before. What a learning experience. And then after I, watched all this going on at the, the Magnolia, agricultural, how do I say that? Magnolia Agricultural something, experiment. Yeah. I went to visit the actual Magnolia garden, that has been going now for several years. And it's looking really good, too. They have done a good job. There's a nice big tangerine tree, in other words. And so it's been long enough that this tree is about 8 feet tall. And it's really good to see. They've been working on it steadily, and they've kept it up and done a good job. And that was about it, I think, that I did so far this month. So.
All right, thank you. Ms. Smith.
I just only going to report that I did tune in on the discipline committee, hearing, and so that's always informational. The gentleman that spoke here this evening was mentioned to me that there is a National Museum back in Washington, D.C. And my comment was, when putting casinos to the voters in California in the 80s, it seems to me, as I remember, it was sold to us to get past this so that the money that were earned by these casinos would go to the different Indian communities to help them, raise them up. And over the years, I've personally don't know factually, but my gut feeling is that that's never happened. And so when I mentioned it to him, he said how that worked is that apparently the certain amount of monies go to the state, and then the state divvies it out. He said, so you get a portion of it in Anaheim and other communities do. And I'm thinking to myself, how could these people get their story out more effectively? And I suggested to the young man Massa that spoke here last month that what about an exhibit down at the museum? I think it would be a wonderful opportunity to put something together, and then there's a teacher here that says that she wants to work on the curriculum. And I think that coordinating in a group, they could figure out some ways to get their story out. And they could even elevate it to a national Indigenous Week month, History Month, to get their story out, because I'm very empathetic and sympathetic to them. For years, that has just really tugged at my heartstrings to see how these people have been treated in this country. But that's just my feeling. And you have government, and they control it, and they put people where they want them to be. And they've been very poorly treated, in my opinion. So I just appreciated this gentleman coming. He gave me his background and his involvement. I think he said with the United Nations. And anyway, his story was very worthwhile hearing. And if we can work something out that is implemented into our schools at an appropriate time, working with them, I think, would be a very positive goal. So, and I just want to thank all of you. You are all heroes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Smith. My report, it's a pretty short one. I actually attended Sycamore Junior High for the Martin Luther King National Services Day. There's some really good work. We had a lot of bros, not only from Anaheim High School, but also from Sycamore Junior High and other students who actually came and did not only campus cleanup, but they also put together some essential items for homeless folks. So it was a great opportunity for our students to participate. So I'm glad that the tradition has been continuing every year. So I'm sure that we'll do, I know there was work at Magnolia Farm as well. So I'm glad that that's continuing to happen in our district. I also attended Anaheim High School Coffee with the principal via Zoom. We had a very good attendance. That group has been, we've been having parents who are attending on a regular basis, probably because easy access, getting on Zoom is much more easier than coming to on campus. So it's been great. Coming up, we do have there are two organizations actually reached out to me, Mona and Islamic Relief, wanting to do a winter package distribution for our community families in Anaheim area. So we are having it at Anaheim High School. I know Anaheim High School is taking the lead on it because it's their project. So I'm glad that we will be doing that this Saturday from 1 to 3. And I also want to thank Senator Tom Umberg. His office reached out to me, his district director, Anna Gonzalez, reached out to me regarding a organization or company wanting to distribute 400 Chromebooks for our students. So I want to thank Mr. Green for doing a lot of legwork in order to make that happen. And I know we're having a distribution event with Senator Umberg being there on the 28th. So I wanted to personally thank him for reaching out to me and making this happen for our students. So having said that, that's about it. Everybody who is celebrating, happy Lunar New Year. Other than that, I have to go to the next part of our advanced planning. Our next board meeting is on Thursday, March 3rd at 6 p.m. And then any suggested agenda items? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Adjourn.